Welcome to today's episode of the Bad Influence Podcast. I'm Jordan Banderas, and on today's episode, I want to talk about why it's like to be married to someone from a different race. I know, right? So prepare yourself because this is going to be a good episode. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because last week I celebrated my 8th year anniversary with my wife. We've been married for 8 years, and it's been a long journey for her and for me. But let me tell you though, I'm not gonna lie, it has been challenging. It has really been challenging, but we made it this long. We have gone through our trials and tribulations, which have been plenty throughout our marriage. We have also dealt with a lot of stares because when we were out together at the beginning of our marriage, people were staring at us like they didn't want her to be with me for some reason, or they were not used to seeing somebody that white with somebody that looks just like me with a little bit of color in their skin. Let's just say, right? But in the end, not even the stares, not even the gossip or the illness kept us apart, because we have made it for this long and we're gonna stay together for a really long time because I love my wife. But one of the reasons why I want to talk about this as well is because people thought that we were not going to make it. People said to my wife that she should be marrying someone else. I guess it's because they had never dealt with somebody that is not from this country. They had never dealt with a minority in this country. And a lot of people said that to my wife. They were like, why would you marry that? And another thing that happened is that when my wife told some of her friends and her family that she was going to marry me, their response was, why would you do that? Why? Why would you do that? Like, there was actually somebody that texted my wife the day that we got married saying like, why would you marry the Mexican? He's just gonna use you, whatever. And I was like, whatever, fuck you. Because we didn't fucking care. That's the thing. We didn't care about what anybody else says or said. I was like, this is my marriage with my wife, and we're gonna make it work. But I also feel that one of the reasons why people reacted this way was that they thought that I was marrying her so I could get my citizenship, which I can understand why they would think that. I mean, Katie's family had never dealt with a person who wasn't born in the States. And a lot of her friends and family members probably never dealt with somebody that didn't have a legal immigration status. You know, probably they saw it on Fox News or somewhere else, and the news is like, if somebody marries your family member that is not from this country, they're just gonna marry them for papers. But that's not the case, because it wasn't. And even to this day, here's the thing. Even to this day, some people still think that I married her for papers. That's true. It's been 8 years. I already got my citizenship. I could have ran away, but I didn't. Which, in this case, it shows that I didn't marry her for papers. I married her because I love her. And if I had married her for papers, I would have been gone a long time ago. Probably like 3-4 years ago. Or when she got sick, I would have been like, fuck this isn't for me. And I would have like jump ship and been like, you know what, take care of yourself, bye-bye. But I didn't. And that's one thing that a lot of people that are in a situation like mine deal with. The stares, the gossip, people not believing that you're marrying the other person for the right reasons. And it can be stressful and it can be frustrating because all you want to do is live your married life with a person that you love, even though that person may not look like you, you know? And also, one of the hardest things that we had to deal with in our entire marriage, besides the stares, the gossip, and everything else, was that we had to deal. We had to be willing to learn about each other's cultures. I'm talking about family culture and everything that we brought to the table as a white woman and a Mexican man. Because obviously when two different cultures collide or met in the middle, there's gonna be a crash at one point. We have crashed and we have clashed. That's what I was trying to say, clashed. So much during our marriage because of our cultural differences that now that I'm looking at it, it's like, it was funny. The misunderstandings were funny and dumb at the same time. And I have a funny story about this, as I always do. So when we got married, we got married on December 7th of 2014. And when Christmas arrived, a few weeks later, we went to a Mexican party with my family. It was a Mexican Christmas party, which means there was going to be a lot of food, a lot of alcohol, and plenty of people and fun. Now, my wife had never been to a Mexican party like that, so she didn't know what to expect. When I noticed this, that she had never encountered this type of situation in her life, I was like, I'm gonna fuck with her. Why not? I'm gonna bring her to my culture by fucking with her. So I told her that in my culture, anytime you go to someone's house, the owner is going to cook for you as appreciation for you going to visit them or for you going to their house, which is true, but it's also rude not to eat the food, which is also true. Now, in Mexico, they do this. People do get mad if you go to their house and they cook for you and you don't eat the food, because they're literally taking their time, their effort, and everything on their own food to feed you. So it can be rude if you don't eat their food. I've been in situations like that where I'm like, I can't eat. And they really do get mad, which I'm like, I totally get it, but I just can't eat, So I told my wife that they do get mad if they don't accept the food, if you don't accept the food, but my wife didn't know that I was messing with her. So we got to the party and there was enough food to feed at least 50 people. A lot of alcohol, obviously, and there were only like 15 people there. It was a small party, but we always make it big. So I told Katie that she had to eat all of the food that will be served to her, or we wouldn't be invited to another party ever. And she believed me because she didn't know what to expect. She had never been in a situation like this. So I took advantage of it. So my wife was trying to eat all of the food, and I kept bringing her more and more every time that her plate was empty. I was like, here's some more. And she just kept staring at me like, why do I have to eat all of this? I'm like, it's rude if you don't eat it. So she kept trying to eat it. And at one point she was all like, I just can't eat it. I just can't eat this. I'm full. I'm gonna puke. I'm feeling sick. She was like almost crying. She's all like, I don't want to be rude, but I just can't eat it. And I'm like, you know what? I have to come clean. And I told her like, hey, I'm just messing with you. I'm fucking with you. This is true. They're gonna get mad if you don't eat, but you already ate enough. She didn't think it was funny. So I just told her, well, welcome to my culture. And after a while, she actually loosened up and had fun while being stuffed with food, because she was stuffed. She ate a lot. And I also made her eat a lot. So it was kind of my fault too. But another thing that I want to talk about is that some of the things that I feel that have helped us stay married for this long is that we are willing to try new things with each other, based on our cultural differences. And also we are willing to try new things that the other person brings up. For example, here in Utah, there's this restaurant called Kneaders. They sell sandwiches, soups, pastries, things like that. It's American food. And I had never been in a place like that. That's not my forte. I was never interested in eating food like that. I don't see it as filling, not like 5-10 tacos that I could eat in one sitting. So I was never willing to leave my comfort zone to try this particular restaurant or a restaurant like that. So one day Katie came home and said, hey, let's go to Kneaders. And I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna like it. Can we go somewhere else? Like a taco cart or somewhere else? I was being a little bitch, to be honest. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to get out of my comfort zone. I was like, no, all wishy-washy. But her answer was, nope, I want to go there. And we are fucking going. So when we got there, I didn't know what to order because I had never been in that place before. So she had to order for me. And in the end, oh my gosh, I fucking loved it. I loved it. And the funny thing about this story as well is that a few days after we went to this place, I was at work and my supervisor was talking about this particular place as well. So when I heard him, I was like, I love that place. They have the best sandwiches, the best pastries, in my opinion. And he turns around and looks at me and says, jokingly, I think he was joking at least, you're Mexican. How do you know of this place? And my answer to that was, well, my wife is white and she took me there and I tried it and I loved it. So when I said that, we both laughed kind of awkwardly. We were like, very awkwardly. And then we just went our merry way. And another thing about this particular place is that, and I think it's also funny, is that I ended up going there every single day for 3 weeks straight. Every day. Because the problem with a restaurant like that is that they change their menu every week. So every week there's something new. And I wanted to try the menu. And I did try the menu. And I fell in love every week with it. And my wife at the end was like, hey, you need to try something else. Because it's getting expensive. It is expensive, actually. But another thing that we have been working on to stay married this long is our communication. Because in my culture, not a lot of men know how to communicate with their spouses. And this is not just about my culture. It happens on a lot of cultures. We as men, we bottle it all up until we explode. Because we don't know how to communicate. There's never like a good role model that shows us how to communicate with our partner. I didn't have that, so I didn't know how to communicate. And then there's the cultural difference where in Mexico, like if you're the man, you don't have any problems. So I brought that to the relationship. And guess what? My wife is not like that. She likes to talk about the issue, which is hard for me. So I had to learn to put my pride aside and learn how to communicate with her. That I was so committed to this that we even went to couples therapy, which in my culture means that you're weak. But that's not the case because I made a sacrifice for the greater good of the relationship. I was like, well, if I have to learn how to communicate with my wife so we can get along and work on our issues, why wouldn't I do it? So I took one for the team pretty much. I was like, I'm going to do it. And another thing, and I want to talk about different things about our marriage, and I hope this helps you. And this is very important if you're married with anyone. It doesn't matter the culture or anything like that. Is that in my case, my wife and I realized that we were really ignorant about each other's cultures. We were so ignorant. We didn't know anything about each other's cultures. And I'm not talking about just like, like heritage culture, but I'm talking about family culture or anything like that. All types of cultures that we bring to the table when it comes to a relationship. Because she had never dated a Mexican and I had never been in a serious relationship with a white woman. So because of that, I realized that sometimes being in a relationship is harder than I thought, because we had to teach each other about how we were treated growing up, how our family treats us, what we do in my culture, like as a Mexican man, what I'm supposed to do per society's rules, things like that. And we had to teach each other about our countries. So pretty much our relationship has become a learning experience for her and me. So I like it because I have been able to learn so much about this country due to my wife, and then she has been able to learn so much about my country because I've been able to open up. But I also think that a lot of people don't do that, because in order for you to do that, you have to become very vulnerable. I know nobody likes to be vulnerable with your partner, with their partner, and you have to do that. You guys have to become so vulnerable with each other, and the problem with that is that it can be very frustrating. Because I was frustrated at some points, because you may not know how to explain things, and the other person may not know what you're talking about because they never been in that situation. Or in a situation like that they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know how to feel sorry for you. Like it can be frustrating. But thanks to learning about communicating with each other, that can actually be better. It becomes better. Like, oh, this is what happened with me growing up. This is how my family treated me, things like that. But you're going to have to explain it in a way that your partner can actually understand. And once you're able to explain it like that, you will see that the relationship will get better, because your partner is going to be able to understand a lot of the things that you do or why you react a certain way, And one of the questions that we always get, my wife and I, is what's one thing that helps your marriage? Which I think it's a very good question, and anybody should ask themselves this question when you're in a relationship, because our answer is that we don't let anyone get involved in a relationship. We have very, very strict boundaries that we don't let anyone break. Not my in-laws, not my mom, nobody. We don't talk to anyone about our issues before we resolve them, which is extremely important, because what I see in other relationships is that people talk about their issues with other people before they resolve their issues with their partner. So they're getting somebody else's perspective that might not be the perspective that they need to fix the problem. That's something that I learned very early on when I was growing up and listening to the adults talk about the relationship. And it's important to realize that in order for you to fix the problem, sometimes you have to talk to your partner first. Don't talk to your mom, don't talk to your sister, don't talk to your brother, don't talk to your friends, unless they have the kind of relationship that you want. If they have a better relationship where they get along with their parents, with their partners and everything like that, and they're able to fix their problems without yelling at each other, yeah, talk to them. But if they're having the same issues as you and they can't fix them, then they're not going to be able to give you a solution that may work for you. They may tell you how they feel based on their own relationship, and if their relationship sucks, they're going to tell you that your relationship sucks because they don't know any better. And anyway, in my situation, people get surprised and sometimes even get mad when we don't tell them about our issues until we resolve them, because I feel like they want to meddle in our relationship, or at least in my relationship, because we tell people we had this issue, like, oh, Jordan did this or Katie did this, but we resolved it by doing this. So we don't give them the option to try to meddle. And nowadays, nobody wants to fix their problems. They want to try to fix somebody else's problems. They like to meddle in other people's problems, which I think it's kind of like messed up, because it's like, you should be fixing your problem. And that's one thing that my culture does pretty well. They let others meddle in their relationships, or in the relationships of whoever is in the relationship. And then they can't fix the problem because there's so many opinions around. Like, I've seen people in my culture let their parents give them relationship advice, the sister, the friends, everybody. But then nothing gets fixed because the people that are giving you the advice, or the people that are giving the advice, don't have a relationship like the relationship that you want in order for you to be able to solve the problem that you have. You know what I mean? And with that said, this is what it's like to be married to a person from another race. It kind of is challenging, which I feel like every marriage is. But some of the things that my wife and I do can be used for any relationship. It doesn't matter your heritage, the color of your skin, or anything like that. There are certain things that will work for any relationship, like communication, learning about each other's cultures, not just heritage, but also family culture. That helps a lot. So that's what I wanted to talk on today's episode. And thank you for listening. Thank you for the growth and the feedback. Remember to share, like, and subscribe. We are on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. The link is in the episode description. And here are my final thoughts. If you want your relationship to succeed, it doesn't matter if your partner is white, brown, black, Asian, whatever their heritage is, you must learn to compromise. And have a great day.